Uh, and then, in the original form, the essay is delivered as the Ashby Lecture at Cambridge University on January 22nd, 1993. And again, before going to the text, let me talk a little about Igbo culture. The Igbo people are an ethnic group native to the present-day South Central and Southeastern Nigeria and also Equatorial Guinea. Geographically, the Igbo homeland is divided into two unequal sections by the Niger River, an eastern, which is larger of the two, and a western section. The Igbo people are one of the largest ethnic groups in Africa. See, just understand at least this much. Igbo people, they are one of the largest ethnic groups in Africa. And then Igbo language is a part of the Niger-Congo language family. It is divided into numerous regional dialects and somewhat mutually intelligible with the larger Igboid culture. In rural Nigeria, Igbo people work mostly as craftsmen, farmers and traders. And the most important crop is the yam. You will see the reference to yam in the lesson in this essay. And so yam is the most important crop. And the majority of the people are Igbo people are craftsmen, farmers and traders. And so Igbos, they are the largest ethnic group in Africa. Then majority of them are craftsmen, farmers and traders. And the most important crop is yam. And about Igbo nationalism, just one or two sentences for your information before going to the text. And so about Igbo nationalism. Before it is there in your text, but just a reference so that you will understand things better. Before British colonial rule in the 20th century, Igbo were a politically fragmented group. See, the British people were able to colonize Igbos because they were a fragmented group. Before the colonial rule, the Igbos were a fragmented group. Clear? Then, see, they became overwhelmingly Christian under colonization. In the wake of decolonization, they developed a strong sense of ethnic identity. These people have a strong sense of ethnic identity, and when Christian missionaries settled there, these majority of the people converted to Christianity. During the Nigerian Civil War, which lasted from 1967 to 1970, the Igbo territory seceded as the short-lived Republic of Biafra. And so, the civil war was there in Nigeria, which lasted for 3 years, 1967 to 70. At that time, there develops the Republic of Biafra. MASSOP, a sectarian organization formed in 1999, continues a non-violent struggle for an independent Igbo state. And so, that much about the Igbo nationalism. Remember that before the colonial rule, they were a fragmented group. And when the colonizers settled in Africa, majority of them were converted to Christianity. And so, that much about, and again, these Igbos were the major ethnic group in Nigeria. Large ethnic Igbo populations are found in Cameroon, Gabon, and Equatorial Guinea, as well as outside Africa. And so, I hope that you got an idea about Igbo people, Igbo culture, Igbo language, Igbo nationalism. Okay, and now coming to the text. I won't be reading each and every line from the text, but we will refer the text. Please open the text. Coming to the first, second paragraphs. See, what is the title of the essay? The Education of a British Protected Child, isn't it? See, we forgot to mention the title of the essay. See, we know that it was originally an Ashby lecture, which Achebe delivered at the University of Cambridge on January 22nd, 1993. Now, what is the title? The Education of a British Protected Child. And then see, it is a pretty long line, isn't it? It's a long title. And so, in the beginning of the essay, Achebe says that, "Oh, my dear reader, I'm sure that you don't like such a lengthy title for my essay. And why I have selected this title, that I will explain later. Okay. And so, for the time being, I will explain to you the impact of the Western culture on me." And again, he tells the reading community that he comes here to deliver the Ashby lecture. And in the first part of the essay, he explains how 40 years back he decided to join Trinity College, London, but his application was rejected. Here now he was invited to deliver the Ashby lecture. And so in the beginning, in the first paragraph, the author says that the reader may not be, or the reader won't like the very lengthy title of his essay. But there is a special reason for giving such a title that he will explain later. And now he likes to deal with the content. And then say in advance, saying upfront, that is in advance, that since he was invited to give the address, and if they think he is a scholar, he must be one sort of. And he also explains how he turned out to be a writer. Understood? And so in this Ashby lecture, Achebe explains how 40 years back his application was rejected by Trinity College, London. Finally, how he got his education. And what was the effect of the British colonialism on Africans. And he will also explain how he turned out to be a writer. The first 4 paragraphs deal with these things. I will just read the first paragraph. The title I have chosen for these reflections may not be immediately dear to everybody, and although already rather long, may call for a little explanation or elaboration from me. But before I get to that, I want to deal with something which gives me even more urgent cause for worry. Its content. Here he says that even though the reader may not like the lengthy title, he is not going to elaborate over that now, but he has important things to discuss in this essay. And then see, this lesson is pretty long. We cannot read everything in the class and it will be boring. And so we will see, I have given you in a nutshell what is the content of this essay. And then here then the next point that comes in paragraph 5. He talks about poetic justice. And see poetic justice in his life. Again the same reference, that is, see, he says that though he would have rather have a successful performance than satisfaction of being exonerated in failure, he likes to reveal the workings of poetic justice in his life. He talks about the poetic justice. That is, 40 years ago, Trinity College London turned down his application and he has to stay home, and he has to take his degree from the new University of Ibadan. Understood? And so that is 40 years ago. The Trinity College rejected his application and he has to stay home, but he got admission in the new University College of Ibadan. James Welsh was his teacher and sponsor then. And he became a novelist. That is, in the university, he was exposed to too much of literature, and he became a novelist, not a clear-cut scholar. And so here you will see this Chinua Achebe talking about poetic justice. And then he talks about his university education in the new University of Ibadan. And he talks about James Welsh, his teacher and his sponsor. And he also says that here he was exposed to too much of literature. And finally, he evolves himself as a novelist and not a clear-cut scholar. And then you will see paragraphs 4 to 6. And again, and before that, see, from the I will read some lines from the text. At home, you have to read each and every line. But I'm explaining these lines. What I have explained so far, it should be clear to you. And so I will be reading some lines from the text, not all. In 1957, 3 years after my failed Cambridge application, I had my first opportunity to travel out of Nigeria to study briefly at the BBC Staff School in London. And for the first time, I needed and obtained a passport, and saw myself defined therein as a British protected person. Somehow the matter had never come up before. I had to wait 3 years more for Nigeria's independence in 1960 to end that rather arbitrary protection. And so here you got a hint why he had given the title British Protected Child. That is, when he got the first opportunity to travel out of Nigeria to study in the BBC Staff School in London. Achebe happened to read his own passport, wherein it is explained that he is a British protected person. He says that until Nigeria got independence in 1960, this passport was valid. He is described as a British protected person. Then you will see the effect of Western education on him. I will again read the next paragraph. I hope nobody is dying to hear all over again the pros and cons of the colonial rule. See, here again he says that he doesn't want to remember the colonial days when Nigeria was a British colony. Because nobody wants to be colonized. The colonizer is always a master, and the colonized will be like a slave. He loses all his individuality and has to obey the colonizer.